Happening in TNN Trap News Network. We back in this thing, like cook, cracking this thing, Said we back in this thing, like cook, cracking this thing, back in this thing, like cook, cracking this thing,
And it's just
like, comment, subscribe for more of this good content we got going on here at TNN Trap News Network. TNN Trap News Network, good news you can use, good knowledge you can't get nobody's college here at TNN Trap News Network. Shout out to the shoulder moves. I see you do shoulder lean. Like, comment, subscribe for more of this good content we got going on here at TNN Trap News Network. Some news you can use. Some knowledge you ain't finna get nobody's college. Big dog tap in with the tap in. When you tap in with that tap in, man, at the Garden Freestyle. Please don't touch my. It got a body on it. Notification hit all, say tapped in for the latest and greatest. Fairy Tales and Boogeyman all out now. We finna jump into this content, man. I'm not finna even hold y'all. We got a criminal lawyer, Rolling 60 Crip Rico. Criminal lawyer reacts. Let's get into this. Let's go.
Just a nice gesture to former content genius. Stop, don't, I mean, fucking commit him. I mean, if Michael was in jail right now for doing drugs, he'd be alive. To support, he thought bugs were all over him. And I was just trying to be, so keep an eye out for Big U. It's in South Central Los Angeles, and it kind of started in '85 or thereabouts. And Big U is one of the figures in the industry who came directly from the street, according to Boss, Valtown. But he's from the Arlington and Slauson, which is known as the 60s territory. The Arlington gang was led by Big U's cousin Chili Capone, and as time went on, Arlington guys would call themselves Rolling 60s as they were from the same area. Now here's the thing. The Big U and Chili did not start the gang, but they were like the second generation. These are not people to mess with. And they all have, a teardrop, not necessarily a teardrop, but they have earned one anyway. You know what that means. And Big U, who's,
you know what that means,
like their main guy, claims not to have any directly said he didn't directly join the 60s, but that the affiliation was a natural one, as he was an AG member, Arlington gang member, and he built his reputation on being an excellent fighter, learning martial arts, growing up, and possessing natural leadership skills. And when Chili Capone died, they all die young, right? He became the next leader of the AGs, or Arlington gang, and as the years went on, that just kind of morphed into the Rolling 60s. So they've indicted about 20 guys. I'm doing one right now where they've indicted well over 45 guys, and they're continuing to indict people. They're pulling people out of prison who are serving 30-year sentence on a homicide to indict them on a murder case, so they never get out. I'm telling you, this is not... If you're sitting there thinking, hey, it's a cool idea to be in a gang, or if you're thinking, I have to do this, think again, because this is happening all over the country. It happened in Atlanta, and we know what happened there. The prosecutor fucked that case up royally, and Young Thug had just amazing lawyers, and they didn't give up, which is just amazing. As the crack epidemic came in, the focus shifted to getting money, which brought more enemies meant more firearms, and the gangs now had unlimited access. Big U would also rob dealers, and after attempting to rob an undercover officer who posed as a dealer, he was sent to prison for 23 years, serving only 12 before going to prison. Big U managed to corrupt in 1990, who would go on to sign with Death Row Records after Big U went to prison. All these guys go to prison. You're in a gang, guess what? You're going to prison or you're going to die, one of the two. And it doesn't matter how long.
He's so matter of fact about it. You're in a gang, you're going to go to prison, you're going to get unalive. One of the two is what it is.
And usually it's either for large drug crimes, and now it's Rico, which they can take any little thing and say it was in furtherance of the conspiracy. So what's a conspiracy? You remember what we said. It's an agreement between two or more people and an act to do a criminal act, and then an act in furtherance of that conspiracy. They have a motto in the Rolling 60s, and the motto is, you not 60s until you smoke one. You know what that means, to smoke on your ops? We've talked about that. Imagine wanting to be part of an organization that has a motto basically saying, you ain't a real one unless you backdoor and kill your brother. Example, what happened to Nipsey Hussle and, Sandman Niggas. The amount of fame and clout...
He didn't say niggas. That was his last name, was Niggas. He was reaching, his last name was Niggas. He didn't say niggas. That white man did not just say niggas. His name was Sandman Nagoose, or Nagus, or Nagoose, however you want to pronounce it. But he didn't say niggas. We gotta, cause she from the section too, so she know that's why she laughing. But cause it sounded like the white man just said niggas. But he didn't say niggas. You got to be from LA.
Nipsey brought to them only for a
Rest in peace, Sandman.
tweet down
Rest in peace, Nip.
J-Cad from his hood to kill him. Oh, that's from the Boy Mess, whoever that is. And some of this stuff is just put together by our team here, and we're really trying to highlight, and what I'm trying to do is highlight the dangers of being in a gang and the dangers of not building a good life. It might seem like a good idea at the time because you might be intimidated, you might have this, you might have that, and you might not have a choice. You know, you might think you don't have a choice. Find a mentor. You
don't have to join a gang. I know so many people from South Central who don't gang bang. The whole concept of if you're from LA, you have to be in a gang. Nigga says who? You know how many people from LA not in gangs? Like, I know more niggas who don't gang bang than who do. The gang bangers are a small minority in the majority of South Central LA culture. Everybody don't gang bang, bro.
If you're 10 years old, you gotta have somebody that's a strong. If you're a 10-year-old black kid in the hood, you know,
in the hood,
in the inner city, you know, if you're, whether it's Chicago, LA, Minneapolis, or New York, Detroit, Houston, Dallas, Jacksonville, Florida. I mean, there's over 50 unsolved homicides in the last 5 years. And it's probably grown since then because that's an old statistic. But if you're a 10, 12, 13-year-old kid, find somebody close to you, you know, that's not in the shit. That's not, you know, somebody that's solid. Because there are men out there, you know, just solid men. And gravitate towards them. Every day build with that. You know, listen to your mother, listen to your auntie, listen to your sisters, you know, because they're not in that shit, you know, and if they are, make other plans. I hate to sound like an old fucking white dude who doesn't know what he's talking about, but I see this every day. You know, I see the aftermath of this shit because I'm a criminal defense lawyer. So I know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm not just some, you know, Mr. Rogers dude putting on his fucking sneakers and his cardigan, you know, sitting by my...
I'm not just some Mr. Rogers dude putting on my sneakers and his cardigan. That nigga said, I'm out here thugging, nigga. Stop playing with me, nigga. I'm out here in these trenches getting your dumbasses off on these hot ones that y'all can't stop catching.
Fake train and...
But basically, that is what he's saying, though, like, pretty much.
You know, trying to talk about shit I don't know anything about. So let's watch the press conference. And this is what I want you guys to take note of. They're mining social media to get you indicted.
Proven otherwise. Let me talk a little bit about Mr. Henley and the street gang here. As I said, Mr. Henley is a widely known leader within the Rolling 60s. He rose to prominence in that gang decades ago, and he has since been a fixture on the internet, talk shows, and podcasts. All things that law enforcement have looked at closely as part of this investigation.
Oh, gee. What did I tell you? He's on podcasts. He's, you know, I
you told him yourself.
Like the fame. You know, what did the mob fucking hate more than anything else? Notoriety, attention. They wanted everything quiet. Why do you think John Gotti, you know, wound up where he was? Remember, he was the Dapper Don. It's no different than these guys. And why is that? They wanted it quiet because they didn't want to fucking make noise because the empty barrel is the loudest one.
He has maintained the image of an entertainment industry entrepreneur running a music label and of somebody who gives back to the community here in Los Angeles, funding a South LA-based charity, developing options, which purports to help at youth risk escape gang life and escape the perils of gangs in high crime areas. The facts...
Well, don't think for 1 minute that won't be part of the defense strategy.
The facts alleged in the complaint paint a very different picture. It is one of a murderer, a thief, a liar, and a cheat, and the criminals that enabled him. For example, Mr. Henley engaged in a murder of a musician signed to his label in 2021 and dumped the victim's body in Las Vegas off of the I-15 freeway. He then attempted to evade and obstruct the investigation into the murder, including ordering witnesses not to speak with law enforcement. Henley's criminal enterprise also engaged in other crimes, including transporting prostitutes across state lines, extorting strip clubs, marijuana dispensaries, and other businesses, and fraudulently applying for COVID loans in the
So this sounds just like organized crime, does it not? That's how they're being treated.
in the form of a business relief loan. On that application, Mr. Henley falsely stated that his music label, Unique Music, operated at a $200,000 profit in 2019 and was entitled to government assistance, despite the reality that the company had operated at a loss and was ineligible for such relief. Finally, Mr. Henley is accused of embezzling.
Some of those document crimes are so easy to prove for the government, but the bigger picture is that they are part of an organization, and that is how the Rico part of it plays into it. And so it's an overt act in furtherance of a conspiracy.
Embezzling donations.
Like, I don't really got to say too much, nigga. He's a whole lawyer, so I don't really got to say too much. I'm just kind of let the lawyer. Like, I ain't no lawyer, so I don't think I got too much to say outside of what he's saying.
Made by celebrities, professional athletes, and businesses to his charity, Developing Options, which, as I said, purports to give South LA at-risk youth alternatives to gang violence, drugs, and other criminal activity.
So if you have a charity like Donald Trump did and other people, you can't just take that, money and use it for your own purposes. And you ever hear that show, that Cars for Kids, 187, whatever the fuck that is. Remember that?
1877 Cars for Kids. AARS Cars for Kids.
I used to know that commercial. When you used to lie and tell your mama you were sick, you had to be at your grandma's house all day. You had to watch like The Price is Right and all that kind of stuff, and the little commercials come on. And then I remember the commercial, for $1 a day, you can feed a starving child and they could walk forever. How the hell this nigga gonna walk forever for $1? I never thought about that. And then what happened to all them kids? Not to sound like that, off topic, but not to sound disrespectful, but I'm gonna say disease got to them niggas before your money got to them niggas. What happened to all that chili? What happened to all them dollars? And where the hell can you go where a motherfucker can walk forever off $1 a day? Because I need to go there. I got all these kids. So that's $4 a day to walk forever. Yeah, we could do that. We could do that. My girl, you want to come, babe? We could walk forever for $1 a day. Me, you, and the kids. It's 5 of us. You feel me? And that's, whatever. You feel me? So, $1 a day. I'm just trying to figure it out. Hell, you finna go and walk forever?
I think that is just a total scam. I could be wrong, and that's just my opinion. I don't have anything to back it up, but it sounds like bullshit. They have, what do they have? They have got ads nationally, and you hear that ad all the time. Who believes that's just for kids? Nobody does. Stealing from their own charity to do whatever, and then, doing other things that are supposedly for and all of a sudden you're looking at your credibility when you get on the stand. It doesn't fly.
Henley used this charity as a front. He used it to conceal his fraudulent activities, his criminal enterprises activities, and evade detection from law enforcement. If convicted on the racketeering conspiracy, he and his co-conspirators face approximately a 20-year federal prison sentence. I want to thank our federal law enforcement partners, our state law enforcement partners who brought about the result here today. The Los Angeles Metropolitan Gang Task Force from the FBI. It's comprised of FBI agents, LAPD officers, IRS criminal investigation, the U.S. Department of Justice Inspector General's Office, Los Angeles Police Department, the North Las Vegas Police Department. This case is a great example of the state and federal law enforcement working together to address harm from a criminal enterprise. I also want to thank our...
You hear all the organizations involved in this case? You get a lawyer involved. First of all, I guarantee you these guys don't have a lot of money. Some might have a little bit of money, but certainly not anywhere near the resources that the federal government has. That's for damn sure. And not only that, you don't have the resources that all these different agencies that have specializations within their own departments, like the IRS, like the Postal Service, like the Gang Strike Force, like the U.S. Attorney's Office and the District Attorney's Office. So if you look at Operation Drawdown, you've got 19 there, and we're going to black out their names because I just don't think it's fair to plaster that shit all over the place when you haven't been convicted of anything yet. But look at the people up there. You got the IRS, you got the LAPD, you got the U.S. Attorney's Office, you've got Department of Justice. You've got all these different logos. Now, I'm going to read you from the indictment. In February 2021, FBI Los Angeles Metropolitan Task Force on Violent Gangs launched an investigation into Henley's criminal enterprise, the Big U Enterprise, and its association with the Rolling 60s neighborhood Crips street gang, the Rolling 60s, which the Los Angeles Metro Task Force Against Gangs, Violent Gangs, began investigating in August of 2020. The Big U Enterprise is a mafia-like organization that utilizes Henley's stature and long-standing association with the Rolling 60s and other street gangs to intimidate businesses and individuals in Los Angeles. The Big U Enterprise is led by Henley, and you just heard about Henley. Henley is a self-admitted member and original gangster, or OG, of the Rolling 60s, a violent criminal street gang with associated sets in several other states. Henley is widely regarded as a leader within the Rolling 60s. Now, Eugene Henley, known as Big U, aka Unk, aka Draws, aka Hannibal, aka Hannibal Muhammad, aka Anybody Killer, aka Dave Austin.
Goodness gracious, there's a lot of names.
AKA, anyway, so many aliases, right? When they start reading that shit in open court, it doesn't look good for you. AKA Bear Claw. For a violation of 18 U.S. Code Section 1962D, racketeering, influence, and corrupt organizations, conspiracies. And what they're doing now is they're treating them like organized crime. It makes it easier to prove and to get them off the street. And I guarantee you some of these guys are probably already in prison. How do they build a case like this? Well, how do you think? Two ways: snitching and self-snitching. So the sources to build the case include confidential human sources.
It's crazy how everything he's saying about niggas being rats and all that is pretty much everything that I've already said, but let's keep going.
Surreptitious recordings, in other words, wiretapping, including Title III wiretap search warrants for social media, iCloud and Google accounts, financial records from both individuals and companies and organizations, toll records showing communications between conspirators, victims, and Big U Enterprise members and associates, cell site location information from numerous phones, including Henley's, these guys, City of Los Angeles records, public filings, and other publicly available information, and interviews of witnesses and victims. The investigation employed various additional investigative techniques, including surveillance, vehicle tracking, poll cameras, recording devices, interaction with confidential sources, and information gleaned through undercover purchases of firearms and narcotics. So they're going to have video and audio of transactions. You know, oh, here's some guns. Guess what happens with a gun? It's a 5-year mandatory minimum on top of whatever the underlying conviction is. It's called 924C. And the issue with this is this is going to be a document-intensive case and a discovery-intensive case. It's not going to just be talking. You know, it's not going to just be witnesses. But they're going to have plenty of those, too. So just when you think your brother next to you is your friend, all of a sudden he shows up on the witness stand because he's fucked if he doesn't. So the United States District for the Central District of California authorized multiple Title III wire and electronic interception orders for telephones being used by certain subjects of the investigation, including Henley and some of these other guys. The court also authorized interception of audio and visual nonverbal conduct via closed-circuit TV through installation of video and audio bugs in a location. So what does that tell you? I mean, remember what got John Gotti? There was a surreptitious recordings that they had the social club? Well, they went up above the social club that they had, and they were hanging out in this woman's apartment. And they put the recording devices in that apartment, and John Gotti is heard on the recording wanting to order a hit on somebody. So let me tell you something about the federal government. The federal government is patient, motivated, and competent. We're talking about, probably a 5-year investigation. No Jumper, which we were on No Jumper, or I was on, Michael and I were on No Jumper a while back. they released a statement. In addition to DJ Vlad, also expressed shock at the allegations against Big U, which he denied. In fact, Vlad claimed that Henley alleged that he was never part of the Rolling 60s neighborhood Crips gang at the center of the Rico case. He also suggested that snitches and the spread of incriminating evidence on social media is what possibly led to this, not any specific media coverage. And here's the thing, the media doesn't cover this shit at all. I don't ever hear anything about this. All these statements line up with Adam 22's response to similar accusations claiming that No Jumper had nothing to do with the case. The outlet's name reportedly appeared various times in the indictment due to Brick Baby's previous work with them. So this is Adam 22. I'm not seeing anything that says anything. I'm not seeing anything that says anything about stuff he did in the last 2 years since he's been fucking with us. Adam 22 said of Brick Baby, I do employ people from the streets. People from the streets sometimes get caught up in federal RICO indictments or whatever the fuck this shit is. We're going to be documenting the whole thing, helping them along the way. Anybody acting like this is because of No Jumper. No Jumper is the antidote. So there you go with that. So what is the responsibility of media outlets when it comes to figures like Big U manufacturing an air of intimidation in the Rolling 60s if these media outlets employ people from the gangs that are at risk? Well, what is the responsibility? One of the things, if somebody comes on your program and they release information or if they have their own podcast, anything they say is fair game. It's statements of a party opponent, so it comes into evidence. And here's why it's important when you see the pervasive nature of what these guys are doing. They ran a thing called a check-in, and this is in the indictment. Henley and the Big U Enterprise are widely known for requiring what's called a check-in for out-of-town entertainers or gang members in Los Angeles. So if you have a big enough organization, the Rolling 60s was decent size, and you are intimidating people like anybody that's coming into town, as Henley described in the docuseries, if I don't answer the phone, it can be death for someone else. Everywhere, there's someone like me, and you can't put a monetary value on his touch in hip-hop. After more than 3 decades as Rolling 60s members and several years managing famous hip-hop artists, Henley was widely regarded as an original gangster or OG. In the docuseries, record producer Andre Young, a.k.a. Dr. Dre, explained that it's very helpful to have an OG who can clear the streets with this operating environment. Henley instituted the concept of the check-in when hip-hop artists and other celebrities visit Los Angeles. So here's how it works. The individual must check in or meet with the local street representative of said city to pay a tax or a fee for permission to both to move about freely and to have an event or conduct business in that other city without the risk of harassment doesn't it sound just like the fucking mafia? It sounds just like it if it's happening. Keep in mind, they deserve the presumption of innocence. Now, all we're doing is just reporting on what the indictment says. We're not putting a comment on the guilt or innocence of any particular person. So let's continue. While Henley and other supporters attempt to persuade the public that the check-in provides safety and security for those who do so, as set forth herein, Henley and Big U Enterprise also manufacture the very danger they purport to protect. In other words, you don't pay the tax, you're going to pay the price. So let's just continue a little bit more. And I know I'm kind of reading a lot here, but it's kind of important so you get a flavor of what they're talking about.
If you don't pay the tax, you're going to pay the price. It's crazy. You're going to pay something.
Henley also provided examples of individuals who do not check in with him until it's too late, such as the rap artist Taquan Terrell Bowman, a.k.a. Quando Rondo, when Henley discussed in another interview who was later targeted in a murder-for-hire plot where his associate was killed. When defending this practice in interviews, Henley had interviews. What is that? That's self-fucking-snitching. When defending this practice in interviews, Henley has stated that it is no different than when a Learjet flies over the United States airspace. They want to know who you are. You're not a fucking government organization, baby. I mean, you're just not.
You're not a government organization, baby. You're just not. That nigga was not impressed.
Henley said his practice is no different, which I believe indicates that he purports to own and control Los Angeles through the Big U enterprise. So he said, now Henley had his own fucking podcast called The Check-In. So you're not saying, so there's no such thing as check-in? Let's talk about your podcast called The Check-In. The opening theme, when you hop off the plane, check-in. Penthouse suite, check-in. When your feet hit the street, check-in. Because if you're not, shit get hot, you better check in. And who said that? This is the beginning of his podcast.
When you hop off the plane, check in. Penthouse suite, check in. When your feet hit the street, check in. As if not shit get hot, you better check it in.
That's not the best song for the situation. Not the best song for the situation. And he spelled check-in, CHECCN. Looks kind of crippy. It looks kind of crippy. It looks kind of crippy.
Welcome to the West Side. Checking in.
Welcome to the West Side. Checking in. The indictment describes an incident involving rappers Wiz Khalifa, T.I. Harris, and other artists.
Not T.I.
Who are.
For the record, I've spoken to T.I., and I'm comfortable and confident saying this. T.I. don't know nothing about no kind of nothing or nothing. T.I. is a rapper who was cool with Big U on some music stuff and all that, and they were actual friends, and he did donations to help the kids out and all that kind of stuff. It ain't nothing wrong with helping your friend who's doing something good for their community, big dog. T.I. don't got nothing to do with no flu, flammery, skullduggery, and larceny. That nigga's a rapper. Trust me. And a really terrible comedian. He's not funny. But, and that's my friend. Tip know I got love for him. Tip know I got love. Nigga, you are not funny. You just not. Like, what you know about that? What you know about that? We for that. You feel me? But we don't. You just not funny, cuz. But let's keep going.
Booked to appear Los Angeles nightclubs, right? And Henley demanded $30,000 cash from the promoter plus 30% of the proceeds at the fucking door. The rappers were no-shows, but Henley demanded the money anyway. And so, I mean, this is just your typical mafia shakedown. I mean, it's they didn't invent this. The Italians did it a long time ago. Henley reportedly said that they were going to be 5,000 in his motherfucker, and that's going to be pulling up. And if we got to tear the motherfucker up, we're going to tear it up. So be ready for that. Be ready for that. Bring me the money. So when the rappers didn't show up, Henley and his associates took the promoter into the back room of the club where they were paid $30,000. $30,000 for nothing. According to a cooperating witness, a.k.a. a snitch.
Real quick, y'all probably never know because I ain't gonna show her on camera. My girl fine as fuck. My girl fine as fuck. I be telling her she can't get pregnant because, you know, whatever. But
AB and his associates fixed the dice game and cheated NBA players out of millions of dollars using teased dice. You know, I mean, you don't hear, some guys you don't hear of going out for work. You know what work is. It's women. Following that game, Henley directed a group of Big U Enterprise associates to rough up AB, who did not check in with Henley, and to get the money back from them on behalf of the NBA players. Multiple persons involved in the incident who were interviewed by the feds, including former NBA players, confirmed that Henley was paid $100,000 for negotiating a return of the debt. In another 2022 including former NBA players, confirmed that Henley was paid $100,000 for negotiating a return of the debt. In another 2022 incident, NBA players got into it with boxer AB after AB cheated a current NBA star out of $1.5 million and a former NBA All-Star out of $5 million. God, Henley charged the NBA players $100,000 to get their money back from AB. The current and former NBA All-Stars star players were identified as Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors and retired NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, these are not little dollars we're talking about, and these aren't little figures that we're talking about.
Checking in is just a way of letting people know where you're at so you can get robbed. That's fact. We know when you're getting off the plane, we know what hotel or Airbnb you're going to. You shouldn't do it at all. Come on the plane, get 2 hotel rooms, 1 for partying in, and then 1 to sleep in. And do not get no Airbnb. That's easy access. These young, the starving. Checking in.
What the fuck? That's good advice, and I would tell anybody to do the same thing. So, so, I am the task master at telling everybody not to self-snitch. But this whole check-in thing is part of the control and organization that is a foray into other crimes.
Movie production in the hood. That's how we do it, man.
Top flight, baby. Security.
GB running this here movie set in the hood.
Come on out here.
Coming out here and checking in with GB, getting these movies done. You better know it.
So how are you going to say that there's no such thing as a check-in when you're doing a self-snitching video saying that they're checking in?
Sure. Anytime you want to do movies in the hood, just check it in. We can make sure it's done. Movies, videos. But if you don't check it in,
Oh, well.
check your ass out. We're going to check you in, all right? We're going to check it, all of your equipment. We're going to check it, all of your equipment.
I think they
Admitting to that is crazy. It is crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
the Jewish people call it chutzpah. You know, I mean, the chutzpah that you have, and he's laughing, and because guess what? If it ain't online, it didn't happen, right? And so, I mean, that is what we have, what we call total self-snitching. So, but I mean, that's not the only one. So Big U says to FLAKKO that if he wants to visit the Rolling 30s territory, he has to make a donation to the hood. Big U tells him that it's $1,500 if he wants to make that happen. Another, should we go see if we have to go there and not check in? No, I'm not fucking doing that. So we did some work on Quando Rondo in the past, and in early 2021, Big U, who is a well-known figure in the Los Angeles gang culture and a former Rolling 60s Crip, probably current, spoke about Quando Rondo reaching out to him for protection after the King Von shooting in November 2020. Quando Rondo was affiliated with NBA YoungBoy's crew, was involved in the altercation where King Von was killed by Quando Rondo associate Lil Tim. Big U mentioned in an interview that Quando Rondo had contacted him for support, but only after the situation had escalated. Why the fuck would you say that on camera? I mean, this Big U is just, he likes his celebrity set.
The youngsters get out and then they have to have an experience before they realize, I should have checked in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Or I should have called, or I should have been moving.
Here's why that check-in thing is so important to their organization. It is a steady stream of cash flow. You don't check in, you know, I don't collect the tax.
In a certain way. And so they get out and they might be under your banner, but then they not respecting the banner. They ain't calling you. They got your number, they know who you is, but they feel like they bigger than the program. You know, and you got a lot of dudes, like when I was here last time, that claim my neighborhood that's in this music shit, but they don't really fuck with us until it's a problem. Then they call them. Like Quando Rondo, I just showed Envy. Like, you can't call me now. You can't call me when the fire hot.
That is a sick admission of guilt.
You didn't fuck with me before that. You know what I mean? You have my number.
Tell me that just doesn't sound like control. And that is what the indictment is trying to prove. And the government is trying to prove.
My number, you could have called me, you could have did all that. You know what I mean? But, he was around about, but how is that fair to me? How is that?
I mean, here's the deal. If I was going into L.A., into their territory, I suppose, I probably would check in just because you wouldn't want the hassle and the repercussion of not checking in. And that's what they're designed to do. You know, it's like he forgot what he was doing was illegal. You know, I mean, and it's total self-snitching. And every one of these videos every one of these Instagram posts, every one of these, you know, ha ha ha, you gotta check in or it's gonna get hot, you know. All that shit is gonna bite him in the ass. Loose cannon, he was, and now this episode has been deleted evidently. He was on No Jumper. He talks about the robbery of a dispensary. What gets said in the podcast ends up in the indictment. Watch this.
So basically, it's like, cause he'll be like he'll manipulate things. Like we'll go and do something, and the same niggas we do it to show up to the house like 10 minutes later when we trying to, you know, counting everything, right? And we be like, how the fuck they get that? Oh, well, we're going to just give them like $40,000 back and stuff like that. But because it's actually putting us in paperwork, right? And
why in the hell are you saying this on, I mean, if you're so smart to rob somebody and get big money, how come you're not smart enough to keep your fucking mouth shut?
And like doing like real police shit. I seen the nigga get like 20 guns. And when he got 20 guns, he's selling them to the homies, but I'm like, why are you writing down the serial numbers? So it's like, he was doing like shit like that, and I didn't catch on. So it was like, I'm waking up now. You get what I'm saying? Because
you've been asleep a long fucking time.
I'm gonna just let him commentate because the lawyer, he cooking right now. Let him cook.
Check shit out.
I'm his right-hand man. You get what I'm saying? So when it came down to like dirt and stuff like that.
I'm his right-hand man. How do you back off of that when you're in trial?
Like that, I'm gonna get it. You get what I'm saying? And then, like, one
So
day,
you know why he wanted to get a dude back to 40, right?
Dude, I don't like it when you do things that hurt you. I mean, I just don't. But give me a break. Now listen to this. So this is from the indictment, okay? We went from that video clip now to the indictment. According to Victim 1, when Victim 1 arrived at Henley's Arlington premises, Robinson, Williams, and other robbers were there, as were the proceeds of the robbery. Inside, Henley told Victim 1, "That's how you rob yourself." Henley then demanded $10,000 from Victim 1 to ensure other robberies did not occur. Henley also directed Victim 1 to identify other businesses or dispensaries that could be similarly robbed, and assured Victim 1 that the Big U enterprise would compensate him for identifying any robberies. And if you do that, you're in Dutch with them as well. Henley then provided a portion of the robbery proceeds back to, oh, by the way, you can have some of your fucking money back. But here's why this is important. Now, remember, we just watched that video clip. Williams later admitted to this robbery and the aftermath on a podcast. On the No Jumper podcast, after stating that Williams was Henley's right-hand man, Williams explained, so basically he'll manipulate
And Williams is loose cannon for those of y'all who don't
things.
know.
We'll go and do something, and then the same fellas we do it to show up at the house like 10 minutes later as we trying to count everything. You know, we just saw that. So that wound up in the indictment. So you can't make this shit up, and you can't make it any easier for law enforcement. So central to the accusations in this indictment is the murder of a 21-year-old aspiring rapper signed to Henley's unique, UNEEK, label, a music label,
He wants to call it unique, but it's unique. It's not unique.
Williams. According to court documents, the dispute escalated when Rayshawn recorded a diss track aimed at Henley, leading to an altercation.
And Big U has since, as officially of today, being Thursday, March the 27th, 2019, has been charged with the unaliving of that kid.
That resulted in RW being shot, or Rayshawn Williams being shot and left dead in a ditch off of Interstate 15. So you've got, racketeering, you got extortion, you got murder, you got drugs, you got all kinds of things that are endemic. So, and this is where it talks about that in the indictment. On January 20, 2021, 5 days before the murder and 3 days before Henley and Robinson drove from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, RW recorded a diss, short for disrespect, song at NLVPD, later obtained. So they got the diss track. In it, RW Rayshawn Williams, rapped about the person who had the money that RW would be shot in the face for thinking it's shit funny, and referenced a .38 revolver with no trace. And now this 21-year-old is fucking dead because he did this diss track. Based on my knowledge of this investigation and a conversation with others, I believe, this is the agent in the affidavit, in this diss song, RW was dissing Henley, referring to Henley as the bro that makes the money, and that the RW must get shot in the face, not with a shit pistol, but shot in the face with a .38, for thinking his lackadaisical use of the studio and general representation by unique music is funny. RW was shot days later in the face, apparently with a revolver, like a .38, that left no shell casings. That's one of the things that, if you shoot with a automatic, semi-automatic handgun, it spits out casings. If you shoot with a revolver, it keeps them in the gun, so you don't have any casings at the crime scene.
All right, man, I'm going to let y'all watch the rest of this. I actually got to get ready for jiu-jitsu, so I ain't going to be able to give y'all the last 10 minutes. But y'all watch this, man. Go ahead and slide up to the lawyer, you know what I'm saying, CLR Bruce Rivers. Shout out to bro. And we up out here to the next one. Y'all know the deal. It's free Avenue Angel until he's free. I got to go get some squabbly wobblies in, man. We gone.